also as a country to influence that outcome. Are you following me? So let's imagine 10 years. Everything is working in this country as we want it to do. What are the things as an organization would we have done to get the country over there? And what would the country have done on its own to get the country over there? And then there's another group. Group two, think of Ghana in 10 years. Nothing is working. You know, our roads are still not paved. Our kids are still dropping out of schools. There is so much corruption. Our electricity doesn't, is not powering our industry. Unemployment rate is so high. For that group, I also want you to think about the things that we failed to do as an organization and a country to have created that status quo for Ghana. It's going to be quite simple. So I'm going to split this room into half, okay? So from this table, the table in the middle, so let me put it this way. Well, McCarthy, where you're sitting, and Mr. Adai Sebo, your end to this left will be Group A, who are going to think about the positive side of Ghana in 10 years and everything working and the things we're supposed to be doing to get us there. And then the group to my right, you're going to be Group B, and your focus would be what are the things that we have failed to do as an organization and as a country to maintain a very negative status quo. So on your tables, just take the next 5 minutes and write the things down. Have a discussion about it. And then after 5 minutes, I'll call on a few people to share what you've put on your tables. Okay, you have about 45 minutes to wrap up. All right, let's come back around. I need a few volunteers from Group B. And this is the group that are thinking about maintaining the status quo and the things that we would have failed to do as an organization, as a country. So if anyone can pass the mic to anyone on this group to share what you came up with. Go ahead, Lolo.
So we had an interesting discussion around leadership. And for us, we think that if we're going to see a very bad educational system, really bad roads, and things not going as great as you described for those on the right, we think that they will be tied to a system that has failed, like a leadership system that has failed. That is to say that we, as individuals, have not been bold enough to take initiatives to solve the problems that we have identified in the country. Instead, we are waiting for, say, the government or an institution to take up the role to solve the problem. But we believe that if we're going to see any change in the country, if you're going to see a country with its systems working, we as individuals and leaders need to take the initiative and be bold enough to tackle the challenges that we see. Thank you.
Thank you. Maybe someone from that table.
Okay. So I think we shared the same sentiments with Lolo, but we added something else. And then we also spoke about mindset. So we believe that if we are able to change mindsets as well as take initiatives, if we don't change our mindsets and we don't take initiatives, then our country will be worse than it is now in 10 years.
What about this table?
Good morning. Please, we think that if our policemen will continue taking bribe on the roads, if me as a teacher, I go to the classroom, I don't teach, or maybe I go to the school, I sit by the computer, browse every day without teaching, or maybe I don't even show up at all, then our leaders embezzling money to do other stuffs instead of investing it into development, then our country will be worse than it is now in the next 10 years. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Any other thoughts from Group B before we move on? There's a hand here.
Good morning. Thank you. We also spoke about the fact that if we as an organization, we forget our vision and we don't have a proper conviction about the vision that we are working towards, then it is easy for us to neglect our duties and to get the country to where it is. Because if we do not understand what it means to make sure that every child in Ghana gets, a quality education, then the work we'll be doing wouldn't, benefit the country because we don't understand what our vision is about.
Okay. So to summarize, I think the things I got from that group is if there is a strong lack of leadership, if we don't change our mindset, and if we also lose the focus on our vision, then we will maintain a negative status quo for the country. So let me move on to Group A, the positive end. Let's start with that table.
Hello, good morning, everyone. My name is Mustafa, 2020 Fellow, ICT teacher. I think that in the next 10 years, Lead for Ghana as an organization would have transformed leaders that are occupying institutions, making sure that these institutions are working effectively and efficiently. And by doing so, we're going to have institutions that are strong and feasible to be able to solve societal and the country's problems. So that is my perception. In the next 10 years, Lead for Ghana might have contributed to raising strong leaders and strong institutions. Thank you.
My name is Daniel Anaba. I believe that in the next 10 years, if Ghana wants to develop, we need to be looking at developing a mindset where we are thinking of the good of everyone and not just about ourselves. We need to get to a point where we believe that there is work to be done and not a position to be occupied. We don't have leaders who just want to embezzle funds because they are thinking of themselves and their children's futures, but they are thinking of the future of the whole country, and they want to get us to the best point that we can be and not just have money for themselves. Thank you.
Maybe it's the table behind you.
All right, thank you very much. So I believe, or we believe that Ghana as a country in the next 10 years, where we have the absence of corruption, teachers being punctual to school, the system will not be compromised, and for that matter, there will be equity in the provision of social services. And also there will be opportunity for young people where they will be part of decision-making process, and at the end, there will be increase in productivity. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Hello. My name is Leslie Enin, and also my thoughts on the matter is that when I look at it in the next 10 years, I'm looking at massive development. And that comprises of capacity building and mindset. And also, there will be an increase in industrialization and an increase in production. When there's increase in industrialization, we need to put it to good use, or it has to be efficient. So maximum production will be required. And also, there will be reduction in corruption. Thank you.
Okay, I think I'll take one more from this table.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Lucky, and on this table, we're thinking around what Ghana needs to have been doing for us to get to that perfect picture where everything is working and every structure is in place. We think that on the side of government, there need to be insurance that strategies and policies that we have, which by the way are so many and numerous on paper, are being implemented effectively to ensure that these policies and beautiful strategies that we have put in place now can be actually implemented to the fullest. And then we also think that government should ensure there's equal resource distribution across the country to every facet, to every part of Ghana that needs resources to actually develop. We also think that government should restructure and reform the educational system to meet the growing and changing demands of the contemporaries, especially in the educational sector. We feel that so much has evolved, and government needs to keep track and check to meet these reforms. On the side of Lead for Ghana, we think that the network, that is fellows, alumni, management, everyone at Lead for Ghana, we need to keep impacting. We think that that is the big thing here. And we should be self-motivated enough to be the change, because at various points to get into that Ghana, we will need to be the change for ourselves. We need to be the motivation for ourselves, and we need to keep impacting. Thank you.
Okay, thank you all so much. I think we all get a gist of today. So today, as a group and as an alumni that we are meeting for the first time, our job would be to look at this country in the next 10 years and figure for ourselves what are the things we need to be doing today to realize that vision for this country in the next 10 years. So the next 10 years come, we're having an alumni summit, probably somewhere. We'll remember this day and the actions that we set forth to be taken today to get our country and the organization where we need it to be in the next 10 years. Today I have the privilege to introduce someone who has been a champion and a Pan-Africanist, and someone who has really believed in young people, but also just believe in black people in general. And this individual is going to give us our keynote speech, and then after that I'm going to have a one-on-one conversation with him to really understand his journey, where he thinks the country is today, and where he believes the country could be, and the things we need to do to get the country where it needs to be. This individual's name is Mr. Adai Sebo. He's a Ghanaian analyst, journalist, and a Pan-African activist. He is widely recognized as developing October as Black History Month in the United Kingdom. He's a co-editor of the book, Our Story, a handbook of African history and contemporary issues. He was born and raised in Ghana, and he was also part of Kwame Nkrumah's Young Pioneers movement. It's quite interesting that he is with us today, because this is also the beginning of another young movement. To be very curious to know how Kwame Nkrumah's Young Pioneers movement started, what it is today, and what are the lessons we can learn from that as we start our movement and try to ensure that every child in this country has access to an excellent education. So on that note, I'd like to welcome Mr. Adai Sebo to the stage.
Thank you, Daniel, and the lead team. I am privileged and humbled to be standing before you to have a dialogue with you. I am humbled because I'm standing before the future. You are the future. You have been selected and been instructed to have a deep sense of leadership, to lead Ghana into greater prosperity. So you are special, very, very special. And you represent the hopes of things to come. So I am humbled and privileged to be before you this morning. I am going to engage in a conversation with you. And we are here to talk about your generation, the younger generation, and development. I'm going to make some emphatic statements that will intrigue your mind. When we talk about development, what are we talking about? And particularly in relation to you, the younger generation, and your responsibilities to development. Development depends very much on the population and their sense of purpose and their sense of self-belief and their collective sense of who they are and what they want for themselves. I hope I'm clear. It depends on the individual and how that individual has been prepared in readiness to contribute to his or her best to to the development of the nation. But as Ghanaians, when we look at development, we cannot do so without reflecting on our future and our past, particularly our past. What has been our recent past? You've heard about colonialism, you've heard about imperialism, you've heard about neocolonialism and all of that. What do these mean to you? Because you, in order to develop, you as an individual, you as a family, you as a community, should have a perfect understanding of who you are, where you've come from, and where you want to go. So our past has been a tumultuous past because of the encounter with colonialism. Colonialism corrupted and defiled our institutions, our statecraft, our governance system, and our education system, and all that. So you cannot develop without going into the past to have an understanding of what has happened to you as an individual. And it's very, very important because through that, you begin to see who you are. And when you have an understanding of who you are, it makes it possible for you to develop in peace and in confidence. Because of the historical encounter of colonialism, we have a divided loyalty. Divided loyalty to ourselves as Ghanaians. We are not sure who we are as Ghanaians because of our historical past. Because there came a time when everything about us was bad. So we have to adopt Euro-Christian culture. We had to adopt Euro-Christian culture. So we became dual personalities, which Kobna Sechi in 1920s described as the blinkards. We are neither here or there, Europeans or Africans. And even we've lost the understanding of who we are as Ghanaians. Why were we named after Ghana? And what was Ghana? And what should Ghana mean to us? So it's important, very, very, very important, that we decolonize our mind. And that was the process that our fathers, founding fathers of independence, that's how they set out to do, to try and set up institutions to decolonize our minds so that we will be who we are. We know who we are as Africans. Because as Africans, we have, if you look at our history and what we have been able to achieve from antiquity to the present, you look at ancient Egypt, you look at the culture that were developed, you look at the fact that in ancient Egypt, that is where Aristotle's, most of the Greek and Roman philosophers, scientists, and all that, They came to Africa to study and learn. So you have to go back and have that sense of understanding and acceptance of who you are. And it is that will situate you in a proper condition and state of mind to be able to develop the country. So, lead for Ghana. Lead for Ghana. Lead for Ghana. For what? For Ghana to leap. Lead for Ghana to leap. So you are being trained in leadership for you to lead Ghana, for Ghana to leap beyond what it is now. That is why Daniel started saying that in 10 years' time, that everything running perfectly well. And it is possible. It is possible to reach that. And it will be possible only when you have an understanding of who you are as an African and as a Ghanaian, and what you have done before, and what you are doing, and what you can do, and what you can achieve. So lead for Ghana to leap. Leap for Ghana to leap. You have a responsibility for Ghana to make up, because Ghana has to make up, catch up, and surpass. You hear the saying that we started on the same trajectory journey with Malaysia, Singapore, South Korea, and all that. And we were even ahead of them. But now they have surpassed us. So we have to leap. But before we have to make up and catch up and then leap and surpass. So that is lead. That is lead. That is you. And I am positing that this can only be achieved if you know and accept and recognize who you are as an African. As an African, as you sit in this room, look at the light. This light that you see there, it was an African, Louis Latimer, who worked with Thomas Edison, who developed the electric lamp, but it wouldn't last. So Latimer developed the filament, which made the electric light to last for a long time. The clothes that we wear, the cotton ginnery, was developed by you, your ancestor. The air conditioning system was developed by your ancestor. The shoe that you wear, in terms of multiple production of it, the lattice system was developed by an African, your ancestor. If you went down the lift, the elevator, it was developed by an African, your ancestor. But what is interesting is this, that there came a time when our ancestors in the United States, in the plantations, they were prevented from being taught how to read and write. But at the same time, they were making inventions in the agricultural sector and industry and all that. Then their slave masters would take the patents for them. So even under slavery, we were developing things. That is who you are. But now that you are yourself an independent and sovereign nation, what stops you? What stops you? The only thing that stops you is yourself and your lack of self-belief and lack of knowledge of who you are and what you have done before. Do you understand what I'm saying? That's the only thing that stops you. Because at a point of time, your ancestors in the United States, in slavery, in enslavement, difficult times, the identity torn away from them. But yet still, they were able to make significant contributions to the technological development of the United States. That is what you are. That is what you are. Why? Because you come from a very special civilization. Prior to the coming of the European, here in this area called Ghana, you had your calendar. You had your weight and measure. You had your own currency. Do you know that? The Akans had their own calendar. For a people to have their own currency, what does that mean? A people to have their own weight and measure, what does that mean? Now, when you go to the market and all to shop, do you use weight and measure? You don't. But you had it. So you have to know yourself and what you have done. And with that, then you know what you can do. But nothing stands in your way. And particularly this era that we are in technological advancement, there's so much with the break of internet and all that. So nothing stops in your way. The only thing that stops in your way is lack of self-confidence, lack of self-knowledge, and lack of self-belief that will stand in your way. So history is very, very, very important. Now we talk about Malaysia, we talk about Singapore, we talk about Taiwan, we talk about China, we talk about India. Look at all these places. But they are Indian, they are Chinese, they are Taiwanese, they are Koreans, they are Singaporeans, they are Malaysians. And their development is steeped in their culture and understanding of who they are. But your development is steeped mostly in European culture. So your sense of loyalty is split. But the Malaysian, the Indian, the Singaporean, they are Singaporeans. So their sense of loyalty is not split. They know who they are in the context of the world that they live in. So their sense of loyalty is not split. And loyalty is very critical and essential. Very, very critical and essential in national development. Loyalty. Loyalty to what? If you are loyal to yourself and you know who you are and you have been brought up to know who you are, born in Savaligu, knowing Savaligu, knowing the rivers, knowing the flora and the fauna, knowing the land, the soil, knowing everything there, knowing the folktales, the history. That's what makes you a Dagban. And if you have a sense of that meta relationship with your land and your soil, you will not sit there for someone to come and do galamsey and despoil the land and the water bodies. But because you are alienated, you don't know who you are, you don't see the value of your environment. You don't see the value of your environment. So others can come and despoil your environment and go away. Please, can you imagine that in 2020, we have communities in Ghana that drink from the same pond as livestock? Why should it be so? And you are named after Ghana. You are named after Ghana. Why should it be so? Because of that lack sense of value, the alienation. And that alienation is because of the historical encounter with colonialism. So, in order to develop, in order to catch up, you have to have that sense of self-value. Let me tell you something. You heard about Mahatma Gandhi. Have you heard about him? Mahatma Gandhi, yes. He grew up in South Africa, apartheid South Africa. He practiced there in Durban. Then, through the experiences there, he went back. But when he returned to India, he took away his suit, his Western clothes, and put on the traditional Indian dress. And that was a signal. And India has not looked back then. But as we try to embody European culture, and that is what has also kept us backward, because we are in and out. We are 2 feet astride. We are confused most of the time. But the Indian is an Indian. The Singaporean is a Singaporean. The Chinese is a Chinese. And he has a responsibility to China. The Indian has a responsibility to India. But us, we have dual responsibility in our tastes and values. We have dual responsibility, 2 feet astride. So it makes it difficult. And we are afraid even to interrogate who we are. We are afraid, we are scared. We don't even want to look back. We have been programmed so much that our back is bad. We are backward. Everything about us, our faith, our religion, our belief systems, everything is about us is bad. That is what we have been programmed. So we are afraid even to think about the past and know who we are. But if you know who you are, you will know that the talk about coding is nothing unusual. That is your life. You live by coding. You live by coding. Your whole life is coding. As a Ghanaian, as African, your whole life is coding. Are you with me? Let me explain why. Your Proverbs, what is it? It's coding. Your gold weights is coding. Even your clothing, women, the way you tie your headgear and all that, you communicate, is coding. You code. So our life has been based on coding. So our logarithms and all these things, if we had gone back, we would have been years ahead. I remember it is in this book. There was a friend of mine, Dr. Tim Tavares. In 1986, he was 15 years ahead of the Japanese in superconducting. Incredible. An African born in Jamaica, but schooled in the United Kingdom. 15 years ahead of the Japanese in superconducting technology by 1986. And why? Because in his genes, that coding, sense of coding is there. So, and he is very, very proud to be an African. And the British, the Americans, they wanted his technology and all that. But he said that no, Africa needs it. He tried several times. I sent him to Zimbabwe. First, I sent him to South Africa and sent him to Zimbabwe. And all, but it didn't work. It didn't work. And we have such wonderful minds all over giving their services outside because we have no use for them. We have no use for them. But that is us, and that is you. So the 10 years, it is possible. You can change Ghana in 10 years if you have that self-belief. Look at Kwame Nkrumah. He had that sense of self-belief. And from 1951, when he became leader of government business, he changed the face of Ghana or Gold Coast. There wasn't much that the British left, but he came and added so much, and you hear about it. Why? Could one single person and his team, just like Dotse and your team, achieve so much because of sense of self-belief? He knew who he was as Kwame Nkrumah. And he knew and respected his origins because he studied. And he delved deeply into his history. And he saw what we have done. And that was possible. So it is possible. If Nkrumah and his team could make it, you can do better. Why? Because you are blessed with modern technology. You are blessed with modern technology. So you are better prepared than the team that Nkrumah had to bring Ghana forward. You are far better prepared. So if they could achieve so much, what about you? So lead for Ghana to leap. 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 Leap for Ghana to leap. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Daisebo, for that very historical notes that you gave us this morning. As you were speaking, I picked up a few things that I felt like would be useful for the group, but also for just my own self-interest to really understand. And one of the things you said was we need to know who we are, where we are coming from, and based on those two information, determine where we want to go. If Ghana were to be a person, let's say Ghana is a female called Amma. Who is Amma? And where is Amma coming from? And what does Amma need to do to get to where you feel like Amma needs to be?
Hello, can you hear? Oh, okay, sorry, you can hear me now. The importance of self-belief, Amma. Amma, Saturday born. Amma, female. So by the mere mention of your name, the name that your parents gave you, you are named to be somebody. You are named after someone as an inspiration for you, as a model for you. The same way Ghana was named in our founding fathers, they set up Gold Coast and decide to anoint it or christen it Ghana after the ancient city of Ghana. The ancient city of Ghana was known as the land of gold. It was known as the land of law and order. It was known as the land of high statecraft and governance, discipline. It is said that you can drop your gold and go and come back and find it lying there. No one will touch it. But if for some time the gold is still lying there, they will take it to the palace and you can go and claim it. That was Ghana. So that is what Nkrumah, Dankwa, and the rest, that's what they wanted you to be. So it's not a land of corruption, a land of indiscipline, a land of backwardness, filth, and all that. No. And so no one, no parent names the child Amma to become filthy, useless, or what have you. So everything starts from the beginning. The beginning is very critical and crucial. Everything starts from the beginning. and understanding and knowing who you are. So the beginning is critical. So you are special. You are being given a beginning, a leadership beginning, and to use education as a tool to transform the society that you see before you.
Thank you on that. Talking of beginnings, I think we would like to get to know you as an individual a little bit more. Like, who is Mr. Adai Sebo? So, on that note, give us a little bit of history about yourself. Start from secondary school. Which secondary school did you go to? And give us a quick breakdown on what you've been doing since secondary school or high school till today.
I was born in Adum Kumasi, but brought up in Asawase, Abu Abu. I went to Abu Abu Local Authority School. And when I was... but it was difficult. My parents were not wealthy, so sometimes my clothes, you can see my bottom. You know, but nothing stopped me from going to school. I will go to school. But what is important is that the generation that were leading Ghana, they made it possible for me to be able to go to school at Abu Abu and Asawase and to pass the common entrance and to enter Adisadel College. They created the conditions for it to be possible for me to move up. In the same way that Daniel and his colleagues and those who are supporting him are creating the conditions for you to be somebody and to be able to serve. So that's how I grew up, and I went to Adisaldo. And but I was a very curious person, always questioning and asking questions. And my poor mother suffered, illiterate, and I tried to understand everything. And I loved reading. So the library was my best friend. In the library, I loved the dictionary, I loved the encyclopedia, and loved the atlas. So at Adisado, I was very rebellious and challenging everything. And questioning, I loved questioning, and sometimes becomes very irritating. And I recall the coup of 1966. I was a young pioneer then. I started as a young pioneer at Asawase Middle School and entered Adisadel as a young pioneer. And at Adisadel, it was difficult to have the Young Pioneer instituted there because it was a mission Anglican school. They opposed the Young Pioneer movement being formed there. I remember Shadow, ZP Shadow, an organizer of the Young Pioneer, came to launch it, and we were programmed to book at him and to serve it for him to leave. So it took the Minister of Defense, Kofi Bakun, Kweku Bakun's father, himself to come and establish the Young Pioneer at Adisado. So when the coup took place, I was quite disturbed. Why? Because about a year or so before, there had been held a national essay on what democracy means to me, what democracy means to you, by the United States Information Services. And I was the runner-up. So I spent a lot of time researching and all that, and knowing about democracy and all that. So when the coup took place, the army, I went berserk, very angry. So I gathered my fellow young pioneers to go to town to resist. So we put on our uniforms and marched out. They were leading, I was leading them, they were following me, marching them out. So when we got to Siwudu Stadium, and the headmaster had heard of it, and he ran and came and said, Ade, what are you? You are going to put me in trouble. So from that early age, I had a sense of who I was and what society I wanted to be, and understood what Nkrumah and his team and all that, what they were trying to do. So when something came to disturb it, I was very angry. And the same thing happened in 1972 when Buzia was overthrown by Champong. I was very disturbed again. I say, why? The military has gone, a civilian regime has come, they are doing what they can. Let them go on, and you come and overthrow them and give the reason that the few amenities that you were enjoying has been denied you and all that. And that also got me upset, very angry. So I sat before my typewriter at that time and then wrote a note of resistance and decided to go to the broadcasting house in Kumasi to go and broadcast and tell Ghanaians to resist. So that has been part of my growing up.
I see. The two things that you mentioned, and I want to dig deeper into that. The first one is the Young Pioneers Group. What was it? Who formed it? What was the role of the Young Pioneer Group?
Was set up by the Convention People's Party to prepare the youth to lead Ghana, just as you as alumni being prepared to lead Ghana, to help Ghana to leap. And it was in various disciplines that you chose where to go: gymnastics, history, entertainment, agriculture, science, and all that. So there were extra curriculum. So after school, there were a lot of activities. But a lot of things have been said about the Young Pioneer, that we had to report our parents and all this and all that. That was not true, because I have no recollection of that. I have no recollection. But there was tremendous resistance, because they said that, oh, he was copying the Soviet Union and they are going to train communists and all that to overtake and all that. So you are not communists. You are being trained as nationalists in order to help your country to develop. That's the same way that the Young Pioneers had been set up to do.
Okay. You also mentioned that coming from, I would say, a very underserved community and going to school over there, the leadership in the country at that moment had created a condition that enabled you to get into a top-tier senior secondary school in Ghana known as Adi Citadel. What were the conditions that these leaders created that enabled you, a child from such an underserved area, to get into a top-tier secondary school in Ghana?
Incredible. Schools, when the British left, there were very few secondary schools, very few, only one university. Nkrumah built Cape Coast, expanded the Technology Institute in Kumasi and turned into a university, built several training colleges to train teachers, and set up research institutions, the CSIR, into health, crops. Think anything, think about it. So they created the conditions for the country to develop and move on. And what is important and interesting is that it's the same thing that you are doing here. As soon as you finished university, you had a job. You had a house. You had access to a car. Those were the conditions. And when we were going to school also, the dormitories, they were healthy. It was not like a poultry farm. We were not stacked and packed together. There was nothing like perching. At the university, 2 in a room. Now you are 8, 10 or whatever in a room. And we had a dining hall seated and being served. Even at Adisado, our science labs were properly stocked. We were playing with chemicals and all that. It's incredible. I was taught dissection. I could dissect a frog. That they provided the conditions for us to be able to leap and lead. And not that they didn't stop there. They provided scholarships for us to go out to the best universities in the world. Name it. Oxford, Yale, Harvard, Cambridge. In the Soviet Union, in Eastern Europe, in the Americas, all over, we were sent to prepare ourselves to come over and lead. This is what they did. But then you may ask, what happened?
That's my next question. So if you have an older generation that created all these conditions for you to thrive, what happened with your generation? How come today, as you said, our universities are crowded, housing is an issue. It's very difficult for a child to come from the same school that you went to get into Adisado College, even though you were able to get into such a college. So what happened? If a generation came and built certain conditions that made you thrive, why couldn't that next generation build upon that so that my generation, my colleagues' generation, would even have it better than you did? What happened?
That is a question that has to be addressed. And you have to ask those questions of my generation. I used to ask questions. And I have been angry since the age of about 15 or so when the coup took place. I have been angry because I don't like what I see. So my generation, what happened? My generation, we assumed power in 1982. You see, the Rawlings, the Chikates, the Ahoys, the Kwesibuches, Jays, Abbes, and all of them, P.V. Obens, Nanados, and all of them. Osafo Mafus, and all of those are part of my day. We benefited from Nkrumah's, their generation. But then you have to ask these questions. What happened? What happened? Because the Osafo Mafus, the Nanados, the Chikates, all these people, they went to Yale, Harvard, Princeton, Oxford, Cambridge, Birmingham, Warwick. But what is important is this. They had a mental vision of how other countries have ordered their society. Everything running. They experienced it. If they study for 4 years, 6 years, or 8 years, they saw it. They lived in it. They went to lectures where they lived, took a train and bus and everything that was running. They didn't see open sewers, gutters. They didn't see food being prepared around gutters or that. They lived and went to school and educated in a healthy environment. So why is it that when you come and you assume power, Nima is still what it is? Abobloshi has developed under my regime. Why? Become a dumping ground of dangerous electronic goods and all that. Why? What happened? So you have to ask these questions. You have to ask us, why? Why is it that in 2020 we don't have a good road network connecting Kumasi and Accra? Why is it that in 2020 the railway network that Nkrumah built from Accra to Takwa, passing through Univani and all these places, doesn't exist? Why?
Well, we are asking you now.
So
what do you think happened?
I ask these questions. So our psychologists, sociologists have to provide the answer. But I, sitting here, and I know who I am. I've suffered because of the duality, the sense of lack of loyalty and sense of not knowing who you are, 2 feet astride. That is the problem. That is the problem. Because your loyalty is mixed. You can't see properly. So when you come, you are alienated. You are alienated. Because if you can sit there, sit down for some people to come and give you a chainsaw for you to destroy your forest and cut them away to India, to Pakistan, to Bangladesh, to China, and for them to use some to make matches to come and sell to you, to make toothpick to come and sell to you, then there's something wrong. So then the challenge is, what is the education system? So you have to query the education system. And that is your responsibility. Why did we not change it? If you will recall, when Nkrumah was overthrown, his books were burnt. His writings were banned. And before we gained independence, George Padmore, the British, banned his books, Marcus Garvey's books, from Ghana because they were being a bad influence. So in the same way, when Nkrumah was overthrown, Nkrumah's books and writings and all that were banned. You couldn't even hold the Effigy picture. It was a crime to hold Nkrumah's picture. Why? Why? Then my generation, knowing all this, we take over power in 1982 over life and property that no other leader had. And we also became the darling boy of the Bretton Woods institution, that is the IMF and the World Bank, and they poured money on us. And they never said a word while people disappeared. People were being killed. The judges were killed and all this. But the West never said anything, criticized my generation. So we could have done something. So we had the power to have changed Ghana because we exercised power that Nkrumah never could, Champo never could, or Buzia never could, or Akufu never could. But why? Is it because of the education? Because of our mindset? Because we don't know who we are? We don't see the value? Please, who in his right mind will set up a divestiture implementation committee to sell out the industries that Nkrumah built, the manufacturing, the industrial, agricultural industries, and dismantle them, sell some, and leave some to rot? You had a gold refinery, 90% complete, and you leave it to rot. Aboso tire factory, Kade match factory, the Paulugu tomato factory. We made our own corned beef, our own shoes, and we had textile factories functioning, and we destroy all this. Why? What is in our mind that made us to do this? That explains the state of unemployment, perpetual inflation, and caught in a debt trap. Because if you have destroyed your industrial manufacturing base, where are you young people going to be employed? India, the industry is there. China, the industry is there. Korea, their industry is there, but where is our industry? But we collapse it. Why would we do that? Why would we do that? So you have to be asking questions of my generation, please. Why? Why has it become the responsibility of Daniel and his team to do what a government should be doing? But please, I am appealing to you. Don't be like what my generation has done to Ghana. Because you've been to crash courses in Ashesi, they will be sent out and being educated and all that. So you have to have a different mindset. And I heard the word mindset repeated about 2 or 3 times here. It's very, very crucial in terms of your mindset. It's very, very, very crucial and fundamental. It's the foundation of everything, where your mind is. But if you don't know who you are, that's what happens.
Yeah. I have one question for you, and then I'm going to open it up to the audience to ask you questions, because I have a feeling some people have some follow-up questions for you. I mean, you're also widely recognized as someone who led the Black History movement in the United Kingdom. Can you just tell us a little bit about that? You know, why was that so important to you, and why did you feel like, you know, Black history needed a time and space in history to be celebrated?
Quickly, something happened to me In 1985, in London, I was in exile in London, and I got a job at the Greater London Council. That is the government that ran London. And I was lucky at that time that the leadership was a very radical and progressive leadership under Ken Livingstone. Then you've heard about Paul Boateng, Lord Paul Boateng and all that. And one day I went to work, and our secretary looked very bemused and was almost crying. So I went to her and said, please, what has happened? She said, can you believe it? When I was putting my son, Marcus, to bed last night, he asked me, Mom, why can't I be white? So the mom was disturbed. She couldn't sleep, came to work disturbed. And she had named the son after Marcus Garvey. Do you know who Marcus Garvey is? Have you heard about Marcus Garvey? The black nationalist leader who formed the Back to Africa movement in the 1930s, when it is in the United States, and mobilized. After he set out a Black Star Line and all that, he was a great influence of Nkrumah and modern nationalists all over Africa. So the parents deliberately named their son after Marcus Garvey. And here, this young boy, at 6 years old, asking the mother, why can't he be white? Because in London, growing up and going to school, everything around him is white, and everything is that, and they are ridiculing being an African and all that. So they don't want to relate to Africa, because what do they see? Famine. They see hunger. They see this. Anything they see on television is poor, is bad about Africa. So it got me thinking. I said, my goodness, there's a problem of identity here. There's a serious problem of identity. So I said that I'll do some research. So I started with my antenna on going to the schools and watching and taking the tube, the trains, and the buses, and watching the behavior of our people, and particularly Africans and Ghanaians. And I will see Ghanaians walking after school and playing and walking in the tube stations, train stations, and all that. And you see the face of, you see a Ghanaian try to speak to, say, hey, Tete, where am I? And they will pretend that they don't. And you can see that they can understand, but they will pretend that, and they try to act up like Caribbeans, but not Ghanaians. And all this shocked me. And someone you call the African, don't call me African. So I said that something had to be done. There was a problem with regards to identity. So I devised a program for public re-education. And I was fully supported by the council then. I was given a lot of money. And we organized a series of concerts and lectures. We call it historical lectures, to celebrate Africa's contributions to world civilization from the antiquity to the present. Africa's contribution to world civilizations from antiquity to the present. So when you go to antiquity, even to the time of Moses, to the time of Joseph, the time of Abraham, when they left Chaldea, where did they come to? They came to Africa. The 12 families, how many were they? Less than 70. They came to Africa and lived in Africa for what? Over 700 years. And we were fruitful and multiply. So that is Africa. So if you go back into antiquity, that is who you are. You had a civilization that people came to. In the same way that now Europe has a civilization that we are going to. So if you have that sense of history and know who you are, then that problem of identity will be resolved. So we organize all these lectures, and these lectures have been compiled in a book saying, Our Story. Our story. So it is our story. It is not history. History is his story about us. Now we are telling our own story. Our story. So we call it Our Story. Our Story. So that is the title of the book. Our Story. This is for you.
Oh, Thank you very much.
So when we organized that, then I said, something has to be done permanently in the United Kingdom in terms of education to the children. So the idea of Black History Month came to mind because I was associated with the Black history in the United States. In 1975-74, we were campaigning for the Negro Week to be extended to 1 month. So in 1976, President Gerald Ford, during the centenary celebrations of the United States, 200 years, he passed a proclamation for that 1 week to be extended to 1 month. So I was part of that campaign with Stokely Carmichael and all those Black nationalists. So I knew what Black history meant in the United States, so I said that, okay, in the UK, we can do the same. So I put a program together, and I was supported by the Greater Council, London Council, and the Inner London Education Authority. And we had, at that time, 1987, there was a historical coincidence. 1987 marked the 100th anniversary of the birth of Marcus Garvey and the 150th anniversary of the emancipation of slavery, freedom from slavery in the Caribbean, and the 25th anniversary of the founding of the Organization of African Unity. So I put all this together and called it African Jubilee Year and prepared a declaration which was adopted by all the boroughs in London. And in the declaration was that the month of October should be put aside and preserved as Black History Month, the month of October, to be declared one History Month. So the boroughs, that is the equivalent of boroughs?
No, districts.
The districts and all that, yeah. So all over the United Kingdom, they signed up to that declaration. And the month of October was declared Black History Month from 1987. So from 1987 to now, every October, there are over 10,000, get to 20,000 activities, all Ghanaians all over the United Kingdom to celebrate the contribution of Africans, people of African descent in Africa, to world civilization, especially to the growth and development of the United Kingdom. Because still we are contributing to the growth and development of the United Kingdom. And this is what I have done for the United Kingdom. And this year, because of Black Lives Matters and what it has generated, there was a debate in Parliament on Black History Month. And I was mentioned by the Conservatives and by the Labour Party. Thank you.
Well, on that note, I think we have about 15 minutes, and I want to open it to our alumni to follow up with questions. I see a hand up right there. Just introduce yourself, the cohorts that you are in, and proceed to ask your questions. Because we have 15 minutes, let's keep the questions also answers quite brief.
Thank you so much, Mr. Adesebo, for sharing your story with us. My name is Livingston Dalali Agbo. I'm part of the 2016 cohort. My question to you is, would you say the number of coups that happened in Ghana also affected the development of this country? And the second question is, in your own perspective, what do you think we need to do to transform our educational system?
Okay, so the two questions I had was, and let's limit it to one question as well so most people can ask questions. The first one was, do you think the coup d'etats that happened in Ghana affected the development of Ghana? And the second question is, from your own perception, what needs to be done to transform the educational system in Ghana? Did I get it? Yeah. Do you want to take a couple more and address all of them, or? Okay.
The coups have not helped. That is why in 1966 I stood up to resist it. In 1972 too, I resisted it, and 81, the same thing, because it is not the best way. Nkrumah, incidentally, in January 1966, just about a month or so before he was overthrown, there was a passing out parade at the Armed Forces Training Center. And he made a prophetic and interesting statement to the passing out officers that if conditions become so hard such that the army, you are forced to intervene, your duty is to prepare the country for civilian takeover and administration immediately. The army, your duty is not to rule. That was in January 1966. Then 24th February, he was overthrown. So that had been in my mind. The army, the coup d'etats don't help. They don't help at all. It sets us backward, because it was coup d'etat that, look, it's conspiratorial. You have conspired. You see? And it is corruption incarnate. Because you are corrupting the system. You are stealing power. You're not going through the democratic channel, but that is not our culture. Because our culture, look, please, where we've come from, it is not coup d'etats. And Nkrumah was able to develop because he was democratic. And Nkrumah won 3 elections for independence. 1951, 1953, 1956. So that is our culture. That is the beginning. So if you disrupt that culture, so coup d'etat is a disruption. It's a disruption. It's a disruption. It should never be tolerated. And you young people should never tolerate it, because I didn't tolerate it, so you never tolerate a coup d'etat.
His second question was, in your perception, what needs to be done to transform the educational system in Ghana?
Everything starts with the curriculum and the syllabus. So we have to be bold. We have to be extremely bold and accept the fact that at this stage, where has the previous curriculum and syllabus led us? the concentration of learning about other cultures when we don't learn about our own self? So that our loyalty system is mixed. That is the challenge. So we have to change that. That is where it comes from. You have to change it. That is where you have to lead. And that can be done by you all entering the district assemblies, entering the places of power and the places of influence. And talk to the chiefs. Please, talk to the chiefs. Sit down with them and talk to them and ask them questions. Please, Nana, why is it that in Laura here, why is it that what is taught of my culture in the schools in Laura? You have to ask why, what is taught there? What is the traditional culture and the system and all that? Why is it not taught? You have to ask, demand why. Because that is where it is, that's where the problem is. Because if you have a curriculum that doesn't teach you that the railway, the coupling system, that doesn't teach you of what we are doing to contribute to world civilization. In science, mathematics, now you are getting the knowledge of all this, but these are not taught formally in schools.
Yeah, I can tell you're very passionate about this, but I'm also trying to manage time and give people the opportunity.
So everything is the foundation. So it's the syllables and the school systems and all that. Everything has been corrupted.
Yeah.
And it's your responsibility to reject the corruption.
Yeah.
Your student unions, you are powerful. Powerful. You can reject them. There's nothing that the academic board can do. If you make such demands, the student unions, you are very powerful. So you should realize that. So you have a responsibility to the primary school levels, to the preschool levels. You have a responsibility to them because of what you know and what you've seen and what can be done.
Yeah. Thank you. Any questions? I see a couple of hands. There's one hand here.
So
can you go ahead?
You spoke about decolonizing the mind of the African. I just want to share an opinion on that. That, first of all, was it even important teaching us about colonization? Was it important teaching us about colonization? Let's take Rwanda, for instance. The Rwandan genocide is not even taught to Rwandan students in Rwanda. Why did you teach us about colonization and then you tell us that we need to decolonize our minds? You are talking about the African story. Do we even have a story? Is our story a story of failure? Your generation who know the history of Africa, today you are leading Ghana. Don't you think your generation has failed Ghana? Because with all the history you have, with all the knowledge you have, what have you done? In 1992, your generation voted and chose this democracy we are practicing. What we are seeing today, is that not the price we are paying for that democracy you chose for us? But your generation turns around and you say that we are lazy. Your generation turns around and blames us for what we are not doing right. It appears you are just celebrating past glories. Do we even have a culture? Who are we going to be loyal to? You taught us colonization. The British came, they took away our gold. Is that not what our leaders are doing today? They come to power, they loot our money, and they take it home. What you taught us, the colonization your generation taught us, is exactly what we are practicing. Was it important teaching us colonization? Was it really important? And don't you think your generation has failed us?
So what's the question? The question is, does he think his generation...
Was it important teaching us about colonization? Do we even have a story? And does he think that his generation has failed us?
Okay, so I think kind of asked this question earlier on, but you can touch on it very briefly under 30 seconds. So I think the crux of what he gave a contribution, but the crux of what he was also saying is, do you think your generation has failed this generation?
Look, you have been so kind to my generation. You should be whipping us. My goodness, you have been so tolerant of my generation. Look, the damage that my generation has done to this country, you have no idea what it is. My generation has destroyed this country. And I take blame for it. Because we had the opportunity with the world at our feet, giving us everything that we want. Look, my generation, Qatar, the spiritual homes of some of my colleagues, the sea is eating Qatar. The World Bank gives us money, almost about $341 million to build a sea defense, and we chop it. Please, my generation, we've destroyed Ghana, and you have a responsibility to ask us questions, and again, not to take any inspiration from us. Because the only inspiration that you get, what is it? Corruption, tribalism, and sexism and abuse. That's the inspiration that we give. Corruption.
Okay. For the sake of time, I would take 2 more questions and we will wrap up.
Okay. So, thank you very much. My question is about balance. So today we live in a global world where countries are disproportionately advanced in several ways. You can talk about Israel's advancements in artificial intelligence. You can talk about German efficiency. Shouldn't we integrate in order to benefit from this growing trend? How do we find a balance between maintaining our national uniqueness whilst at the same time benefiting from growing global trends?
I'm not sorry, I had a question right. So the question is, say that again, please.
How do we find a balance between developing in a way that maintains our national identity, whilst at the same time benefiting from global trends where countries are already leading? Shouldn't we integrate?
So I guess the question is about balance. How do we develop in a way that we are maintaining our national identity, but at the same time learning from the advancement of other countries?
Nkrumah makes it very clear in his book Conscientism. Knowledge is universal. It's not peculiar to any race of people. Science is universal. So knowledge is universal. In the same way that people came from Asia, Greece, Rome, and others to our universities in ancient Africa to study and all that, in the same way. So knowledge is universal. Science is universal. So you should never feel shy of taking the best from whatever in order to develop. Because even if you look at our traditional culture, particularly if you look at the Ashanti and you look at the Manshia Palace and all that, before that you had the Islamic clerics and others there. You may have a Christian person there, but they picked up and learned. There were ambassadors that were sent all over to other African countries and all that. Before the white man came, we had ambassadors learning from each other. So learning is a human impulse. It's a human impulse. So everything exists now that, and we are lucky that we are blessed in a technological age that everything is around us. So it is the self-confidence. That is the key, is the self-confidence. And also knowing your cultural value. So there has to be cultural synchrony. Everything, please translate it in your culture. Don't be afraid to translate it in your culture. Everything that you, well, let it have synchrony in your culture, and it will sync and then adjust. Do you understand me?
Yeah.
So it's like water in a bowl. Knowledge is also, when you put in the bowl, it takes the shape of it. So the cultural foundation should never undermine your cultural foundation. Then that is not knowledge.
Yeah.
That is a corruption.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, I want to take one last question. I would prefer to take it from a lady, but if you don't have a lady sign up, then definitely you can take it the last one from Stephen. Introduce yourself, keep your question very brief and clear. Go ahead.
Thank you, Daniel. My name is Stephen. In the 2017 to 2019 batch.
I find it difficult to hear you.
Sorry, my name is Stephen. I'm in the 2017 to 2019 batch. My question is simple. Why have we lost the fight against corruption, and is this loss going to be forever? Just to give some context, even from the era of the slave trade, some chiefs were paid bribes or money to sell out their own people into slavery. Afrifa and Kotoka all overthrew Nkrumah because they said he was abusive, he was a dictator, and he was corrupt. The next government that followed, Ike Echampo, overthrew them because of corruption. We have former President Kufuor saying corruption is as old as Adam. So corruption keeps coming up in every election year, in every government, even before Kwame Nkrumah became president. And the Ghana Integrity Initiative, for example, reports that the country loses about 3 billion Ghana cedis through corruption every year. And I feel that our developmental efforts are limited by this corrupt act. So it comes back to the question that why are we losing this fight when all governments come to accuse the previous government? And is this loss going to be forever?
The question is quite simple. Why have we lost the fight against corruption? And is this loss going to be forever? We have less than 1 minute.
Again, it depends on you. You see, there came a time when our forefathers got fed up with the corruption of the British. The corruption that enabled our timber resources to be shipped. The railways, everything were designed to extract resources away from us, and they became very angry, and they said, no, we will not agree. They were angry, and they organized themselves, United Gold Coast Convention, then they came, the CPP came and all that, and then they managed to make life impossible for the British to stay, so they had to negotiate a settlement out. So we have come to that same position now, that now we have our own people in charge. And we are behaving even maybe worse than the British. So you have to understand that at that time, the Nkrumahs and Kofi producers, some of them were in their 20s, in their teens, in their 30s and all that, just as you now. So you have that transformative power in you. If they could do it and kick away the British, you can also organize yourself and kick away my generation that is corrupting everything that they touch and making life difficult for you. And you can't see any future because a society has collapsed when the majority of their younger generation wake up in the morning and they have nothing to look forward to. And it is not happening in Ghana. If this is happening, that it means that our society have collapsed. There's no government as such. They're just a bunch of looters, self-serving. There's no government. That is a reality. So you have to be aware and conscious of this and say that no, we are not going to let it happen. I remember once I had the opportunity to be with Sam Nujoma, the founding president of Namibia, and I asked him this question: Your Excellency, you were in your 20s when you decided to take arms against the apartheid regime, and you went all over organized. Why? He said, we were angry. We were angry about something. We were angry at the humiliation that our parents were going through. And we wanted to change that system that was humiliating us. We were angry. So we decided that this is what we were going to do. So you have to be, in order to bring about change, you have to be angry about something. You must not be accepting of the corruption that I am imposing, my generation are imposing on you. You should not accept it.
Yeah.
Say that it is not acceptable. We won't accept it. So what baton am I passing on to you? The baton of the filth that surrounds Accra? Look at Kumasi. Kumasi is a disgrace. I remember once I was with the king of Bafokeng in South Africa, where they mine platinum, and they have ordered their country, beautiful town, excellent. And he said that his dream was to come to Ghana and to Kumasi, the land of gold. Ashanti, the land of gold. That was his dream. Then sitting down with him, I was watching, if he comes to Accra, he's taking the plane to Kumasi. And he lands. He's going through Pokrom. And what will he be seeing? And he goes to the only place that he can go to Manshia Palace. Where else in Kumasi can he go? Where? Take him to Obuasi with the single richest gold mine in the world, sitting on gold. And look at Johannesburg, also sitting on gold, and compare. That is the challenge. You say that we will not so you have to reject that. If I have failed, my generation has failed to develop Obuasi, and we still allow gold to go raw, and we've destroyed the goldsmith industry that we had. We could do a lot of things. Now we have to go to Dubai and all. They should be coming here to buy jewelry and all that from us. Because that has been our culture. We grow. We had perfect. Kwame Nkrumah's father was a goldsmith.
Mr. Daisebo, I can tell you're very passionate about these issues, and I think, you said something in answering the question, which is a society collapses if the young people wake up and they have nothing to look forward to. I think the challenge to everyone in this room is also noticing that most of these people that we talk about did most of the things that they did, whether it's true change, whatever it is, they did it when they were very young. They did it when they were in their late 20s and early 30s. So I don't think the question now is asking the old generation what you can do for us. I think it's quite clear that this is our time, this is our moment, and we don't need permission from anybody. Because 20, 30 years from today, we might be sitting here talking to the next generation, and they will also be blaming us for the failed systems that we allowed to exist and perpetrate. On that note, thank you so much, Mr. Daisebo. It's been great. I know you've given us a lot of your time, so thank you so much for this. And thank you for the book, too. I really appreciate this.
For Ghana to lead. So go with me. Lead for Ghana to lead. Go repeat after me. Lead for Ghana to lead. Lead for Ghana to live. 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 Lead for Ghana to live.
Hello?
This is your time. Seize the time. And the time is now. Thank you.
Shall we do it better? Shall we do it better for our keynote speaker? Okay, we'll take a break now, try to get ourselves refreshed. I'm sure we've been sitting for a while and the tiredness is setting in. As our keynote speaker was trying to get us to chant, I was wondering why the energy was low, but I guess it's quite clear that we need to make room for the break time. So we'll be out, we'll get our break, and then we'll be back here at exactly 11 o'clock to continue our program. Thank you very much, and see you at 11 o'clock. Lead for Ghana to live. Thank you very much.
Today we're bringing our fifth cohort together. When I see them today, it gives me so much hope that we have so many young and energetic, curious minds wanting to make a difference in the country. And so I'm personally very excited for today because this is the largest group of people we ever brought into the program.
Where I come from, access to education is quite low. Looking at what Lead for Ghana offered, I thought it was a very great opportunity to contribute my quota to the change.
I'm very happy to be here because here I have seen people who have gone through the fellowship. I know I have an insight into what they have experienced, and it makes me eager to start the training.